Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee are chastised by some of the more hardcore members of the Pokemon community for being amongst the easiest games in the series. So today I'm going to be testing that to the uttermost limits by attempting to beat this game, all 8 gyms and the Pokemon League, with only a Kakuna that only knows Harden. If we catch level 3 Kakuna from Viridian Forest right at the beginning of the game, it will only be able to know the move Harden all the way up until level 100. Why Kakuna? And why not another Pokemon? There's a few other good candidates for a challenge like this, Pokemon like Magikarp and Ditto, but let me explain why I went with Kakuna. Kakuna is among the 5 worst physical attackers in the game, 15 base stat points behind Magikarp. As interesting of a choice Magikarp would be, Magikarp is able to learn Tackle very early on in its level up move pool, which takes a lot of the challenge out of what I'm going to try to accomplish. Kakuna, if you catch one wild, only knows Harden for the entire time it's a Kakuna, meaning we will have to rely on Struggle for the entire game, which makes this challenge so much more difficult. Ditto would have been an interesting choice, but Ditto's base stats are much better than Kakuna, meaning it would have been effectively twice as easy to get through the game. And also, you can't legitimately obtain Ditto until much later on in the game, so that ruled Ditto out. Kakuna, after my most recent video featuring Metapod beating the Elite Four all by itself, just seemed like a natural choice. We need to set ourselves some ground rules. Rule number 1, we are only allowed to use the Kakuna we catch in Viridian Forest in battle, unless absolutely 100% forced to for certain double battles. I'll show you what I mean shortly by that. It's dumb. Number 2, absolutely no use of candy that boosts our awakened values is allowed. That would make this challenge incredibly trivial. We'd have a hyperpowered Kakuna with 200 plus stats and everything slaying the early game bosses. That would be boring. We're using a completely vanilla Kakuna and we'll have to rely solely on leveling up to become stronger. Rare candy will be allowed, though you're going to see money becomes a real issue, so we sell a lot of rare candy that we come across. Other than that, everything else you can imagine is permitted. Much to our partner Pikachu's dismay, we catch our Kakuna and toss Pikachu into our Pokemon storage. Sorry, but this isn't your game anymore. We come across our first trainer battle in Viridian Forest and literally my first thought was, this video is stupid, why am I doing this? This is so slow. I'm not going to show every battle in this playthrough, we'd be here for 18 hours otherwise, but just so you know the strategy, we harden 30 times to deplete our PP so we can actually start doing damage with Struggle, as that is going to be the only way we can do any damage to enemy Pokemon in this playthrough. Due to the mechanics of Struggle in Generation 7, every time we attack, we're going to be doing a quarter of our max HP's worth of health and damage to ourselves. So this is going to be an incredibly expensive and tedious Pokemon journey. We've stocked up on plenty of potions, and after many a painful struggle, we defeat our first trainer, and after much soul searching, we fumble our way into Pewter City. Now, of course, because we need to make sure we never have any Harden PP, we are never going to be able to visit a Pokemon Center, because that is going to restore our PP back to full. So what's the first thing I did? Ignore that calamity, we head to Pewter Gym, take on Brock with our level 5 Kakuna, and lose because what did you think was going to happen, PD Winall? No, for real though, we're in desperate need of some leveling up. I grabbed my Pokeball Plus. Now, the Pokeball Plus will reward you half an experience point for every step you take while carrying it in the real world if you have a Pokemon inside of it, as well as reward you a ton of rare candy. Seriously, I was generating 8 to 10 rare candy per walk, so I did a ton of walking, walked enough steps to get to about level 30, and I swear, not even getting to level 30 made this battle a walk in the park. It still took me like 8 minutes to beat his Geodude and Onix with only a Struggle. Luckily, Struggle is typeless in Generation 7 and not normal type like it was in Red and Blue, otherwise it would have taken even longer. First gym, defeated. I don't know why Pikachu takes the credit here, you absolute mistake. Now, after beating Brock, I noticed that we are now able to purchase X items. I stock up on as many X attacks, X defenses, and X special defenses as possible because these are going to give much needed buffs to our Kakuna's stats, and honestly, without these, I don't think this challenge would be possible otherwise. We actually save money using X items too, as it means we're spending less money on potions. There's a few required fights in Mount Moon which were made a little easier due to being able able to double our attack with the use of an X attack. We grab the Helix Fossil because while I'm not religious, we need as much divine power as we can get. Praise Helix, I'm kidding, we sold this beauty for 500 Poké Dollars later on. And we encounter Jesse and James for the first time. Now, you can't take these two on with only one Pokemon. This has to be a double battle. It's stupid. Like, it's seriously so dumb. What I did was use a level 3 or so Oddish, use Growth so it didn't do any damage to their Pokemon, and just let it faint. And we'll do the exact same in future battles against these two. It's such a shame I couldn't do this battle with just Kakuna, but it's whatever. Now, while I'm not showing every single battle, I want you to know every single battle was a struggle. The rival battle, Nugget Bridge, every battle in this game took meticulous planning and care that I couldn't really describe to you unless you experienced this yourself. The second gym battle versus Misty took a couple of attempts due to some unlucky burns and critical hits, but all in all wasn't too bad, as we can now boost our stats up just a little bit with those X items. We solid snake our way to Vermilion City, and with our previously earned SS ticket in hand, we board the SSN and learn the secret technique Chop Down and take on Lieutenant Surge for our third badge. We're now purchasing the financially less responsible super potions, now meaning every single time we earn money, it's now being reinvested right away on items. Now, after the third gym battle, Misty gets her revenge for earlier with the bane of this run, a required healer. So, we have to find some poor defenseless trainer to use our Harden PP on so we can continue struggling, and I do not like where this sentence is going, so moving on. We breeze through Route 9, Rock Tunnel, and get as far as we need to in Pokemon Tower to make our life a little easier later on while skipping as many trainers as possible. We've had a few rival battles at this point and his levels are quickly catching up to ours, but honestly, using multiple X items makes it so his fairly defensively frail Pokemon go down fairly efficiently. No more battles are required from here until our fourth gym battle with Erica, and due to our favourable type matchup against her Pokemon, with a little bit of trial and error and the mass spam of X items, she's easily defeated. But honestly, at this point, we are in desperate need of some levelling up. These levels caught up to us quickly. We've only levelled up 4 times since our battle with Brock. I was honestly terrified of what was to come in the Team Rocket hideout in the Celadon game corner, with Giovanni having Rhyhorn and knowing Rock Throw, which is super effective on Kakuna. But because of Kakuna's honestly pretty decent physical defense, and with good money management, like seriously, we're searching every nook and cranny for any nugget or rare candy that we can sell, affording us the purchase and use of 3 X defenses a battle. The amount of damage Rhyhorn does is very trivial. I did do a fair amount of training before this. I caught dozens upon dozens of Growlithe and also used my Pokeball Plus to get some additional experience and rare candy from walking, getting us to level 55. We defeat everyone required, kill Cubone's mother, and head on down to Fuchsia City. That's not before timer stalling out a Snorlax, Worlds 2019. Here I freaking come, suckers. Now, in Fuchsia City, we get access to the game's equivalent of surfing, which allows us to access Seafoam Islands and the power plant on Route 10. Both of these areas feature coach trainers that, when defeated, will give you 5 candy each for a total of 10 rare candy. These are the only trainer battles I willingly wanted to do in this playthrough, as that is such an incredible reward, being able to gain 10 levels with minimal effort. The battles were challenging, but with a bit of patience we earn the rare candy. We also head to Cinnabar Island's Pokemon Mansion and find the 2 rare candy available there, as well as finding the secret key so we don't have to later on. And with all of this preparation and picking up some loose rare candy here and there, we get our Kakuna to level 74. Perhaps a bit overkill for Koga, the 5th gym leader, sure, but not for the final 3 gym leaders, who all possess Pokemon with type advantages against us. This amount of preparation was very, very necessary. We have a brief scare in Sylph Company as Blue's Executor pretty much 2-hit KOs us, even with X special defenses in play, but with a lot of patience, we're able to get through here unscathed. In fact, I was anticipating any encounter with Giovanni and his associates to be difficult, but because they mainly use physically offensive Pokemon and Kakuna's physical defense being its only highlight stat, as long as I was patient patient and didn't make any stupid moves, we could get through the battles without too many attempts, whereas most boss battles we had to attempt 2, 3, even 4 times normally. Now, the first of 2 gyms I was dreading, Saffron City Gym. No required trainers fortunately, but I was anticipating this to be incredibly tough, and I overstocked on many hyper potions, and even did more walking with the Pokeball Plus to obtain enough rare candy to level Kakuna up to level 86, the final time we train our Kakuna up. Fortunately, Sabrina's lead Pokemon, Mr. Mime, always sets up light screen on the first turn, meaning we're able to get 2 X special defenses up, quadrupling our special defense before it even hits us with a super effective psychic attack, which means it fortunately will barely do enough damage to 3-hit KO us, barring a crit. We get incredibly lucky in this fight. She didn't even crit us once, and due to using 3 X attacks, multiplying our physical attack by 6 times, and her Pokemon being quite frail, we're able to sweep her team with our buff Kakuna. Blaine was just as difficult. Our strategy was to essentially PP stall his lead Pokemon Magmar, which allowed us to set up enough X items to be able to survive even a hit and deal enough damage to potentially 3-hit KO his Pokemon. But on our second attempt of attempting to defeat Blaine, and within the span of 25 minutes, we defeat the 2 toughest gym leaders in the game. This is when I started to believe this run was possible. After these 2 intense gym battles were done, I was left incredibly poor and void of any healing items and X items, which obviously are necessary, otherwise we'd just KO ourselves in our struggling state, and I had to scrounge together as many Poke Dollars as I possibly could. There were a few nuggets that respawn daily in the underground tunnels I could collect, as well as the big pearl that respawns daily in Pewter City, so I left it a few days, grabbed those respawning items over the course of a couple of nights, and had enough cash to see me through to the Pokemon League. Giovanni, the final gym leader. As I've said, despite having a couple of Pokemon with rock type attacks, was fairly easy because we're so physically buff and all he uses are physical attacks, and with that we obtain our 8th and final gym badge and are now eligible to face the Elite Four. We take on our rival for the final time before heading to Victory Road, defeat him on our second attempt because of his stupid Pidgeot deciding to roost so many frickin' times, and begin our journey to the Pokemon League via Route 23. There were a few required fights in here that gave us a bit of trouble, but fortunately we stocked up on enough healing items and X items to see us through. In here, I made the most important discovery of this playthrough, one that I wish I made so much sooner. An item called Dire Hit. This item greatly raises the critical hit ratio of a Pokemon in battle, and from my experience, all but guarantees your attacks to land critical hits. With this and the use of 3 X attacks in battle, our Kakuna's struggle would be buffed by a multiplier of 12 times, I think, if my math skills aren't utterly atrocious. I'm from Birmingham in the UK, forgive me, we can't do maths. Giving us the edge we need for the Pokemon League. Look how easily we dispose of this poor guy's Blastoise. This was genuinely it. This was when I knew this was all going to be possible. Before taking on the Elite Four, I did take my Kakuna on one last walk in the Pokeball Plus to obtain roughly 8 or so rare candy. Not to use on it to level up, but to actually sell these to raise enough money for 30 max potions, 15 X attacks, 15 X defenses, 15 X special defenses, 15 X speeds, and 5 dire hits. Rare candy sell for 5,000 Pokédollars each, so we easily had enough to afford this, especially after going through Victory Road and selling leftover items. Lorelei was a pushover, with a Pokemon being 2-hit KO'd with the thanks of the dire hit. If we didn't have our X items and dire hit, it would have been 24 hits or so per Pokemon, which would have been so expensive in terms of potions. You have to bear in mind, each attack we do now is now doing 50 HP worth of damage per turn to our Kakuna, so max potions were a necessity if we didn't want to get wiped out instantly. Bruno, easy. Agatha shouldn't have even turned up. Lance, he tried, but to no avail. Only one battle left against our rival, who I named Steve for some reason. I don't even know why. I don't have any friends, so I just pictured Stone Cold Steve Austin the entire time. Way to frickin' break the tension anyway. This battle was hard. He leads with a Mega Pidgeot, which specializes in special attack, Kakuna's biggest frailty, possessing Air Slash, which has a high chance of causing us to flinch, obviously super effective. Setting up to sweep on this thing was nearly impossible. Nearly. It took 4 or 5 attempts, but finally I got the look I needed, set up everything I needed to sweep. Honestly, I almost choked it. I didn't know how much damage each of his Pokemon was capable of doing, so I just kept using our max potions, and I ended up nearly running out, which would have been disastrous, as I was saving after every Elite Four member. But it was done. We defeat our rival, and Professor Oak inducts us into our rightful place, into the Hall of Fame. This was so much more difficult than my previous challenge with Metapod, because I wasn't allowed to use any candy to max out our awakened values. This was so much more legit this time. I've seriously poured my heart into this video over the last month, so if you've watched this far into the video, thank you so freaking much. If you've enjoyed the video, a like would be amazing. If you didn't enjoy it, feel free to dislike and tell me why you didn't. Subscribe so you don't miss any more of my future Pokemon challenge videos. Trust me, my next one is going to be even more stupid than this one. You won't want to miss it. Or maybe you will if you hated this video. I don't know. Shut up, Phil. See you guys next time.